Hello, wonderful, wonderful viewers of the Let's Talk Fabulous show. I'm so glad you're here, and I got a question for you. Have you ever wanted to reach out to someone, but maybe you felt a little afraid, you weren't quite sure what to talk about, or you didn't want to be a bother, or maybe you are a fabulous connector and you just like to get a little bit better at it. So I've got a wonderful group of panelists in the wings, as we say, just waiting to talk about that and have you learn how you can develop courage to connect and why it's the bravest act of all. So let's talk. Hello again, and welcome to the Let's Talk Fabulous show. I am Gloria Grace Rand, one of the Fab Five hosts, and I want to just welcome you here, whether you are watching us live on either E360 TV or one of the social media platforms, or you're watching us on replay. And in fact, if you want to indicate in the comments if you're watching us on social media, let us know if you're live, hashtag live or hashtag replay. And I want to introduce these wonderful guests that I've got with us today and have them just go around and just say your name and where you are in the world. So I'm going to start with the gentleman, our sole gentleman here today, Johnny. Let you start.
Hey, I'm Johnny Crowder, and I am calling in from Tampa, Florida.
All right, just across the state from me, because I'm on the other side in Melbourne. Next, we've got Tara. Where are you today?
I'm Tara Geraghty. I'm in New Jersey. We actually just are under a state of emergency and a snowstorm, so I'm jealous of Johnny in Tampa.
That's right. Yes, be safe, and hope you won't be shoveling too much tomorrow. And then down below, Tara, we've got Noemi. Where are you?
I'm a little bit more far away. This is Noemi Beres here from Cyprus, Europe. No snowstorms here at all.
That's a wonderful, yeah, you are in a lovely part of the world. I love how we have not just the United States, but we also have Europe covered here as well. And then finally, we've got Suzanne. Where are you?
The middle of the country in Big D, Dallas.
All right, excellent. Well, I am so excited to talk today with all of you because you all have a unique perspective to share when it comes to the courage to connect and why reaching out is so important. And I'm going to kick it off with one of our guest videos today because she's got a great explanation for what we're talking about here today. So I'm going to pull up Tara's video right now.
Did you know that the word courage actually comes from a word that means heart? So, fun fact, I was the president of my Latin club in school, and so I love words and what they mean. And when you talk about being courageous, and I'm gonna actually read you what it means, it comes from the Latin word cor, which meant heart. And the pi root word was kerd, which also meant heart. So when you're courageous, you have to dig into your heart to make those connections, to step out, to be brave. This isn't something that comes from our mind. Courage doesn't come from our mind, it comes from our heart. It's going, I'm aligned, I'm doing what I know I'm meant to do, and I'm stepping into community. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. So I'm so excited for us to have this conversation and to really dive deep into what does it mean to make that courageous connection, to have that courageous conversation, and to be brave. And remember, it's all gonna start in your heart.
All right, excellent. So I'm going to bring you up here into the spotlight and let you share a little bit more about that, Tara.
Yeah, well, I love words because they have energy. So, I'm a Christian, and so I believe that God created the world by speaking. And so when we speak and we say words, they create, and whether you're a manifester or woo, they create. And so I love the word courageous because I really do think it takes this inner, it's not about you, right? It's about the connection that you're making. And I'll tell you, I'm somebody who's always struggled with not connecting with people, but maybe more asking for help. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. I think sometimes we're really told in society, be strong, be independent, you don't ask other people for help. And when that changed for me was, and Gloria knows the story, years ago, my daughter was 3 and she was going through stage 4 cancer. And of course, when you go, and she's 19 now, I always have to preface that she's 19 now, she's great. But people want to help you, right? They want to connect with you. You have community around you. And what are we initially wanting to say? Like, no, I'm good. I don't need any help. I'm good, right? Well, let me tell you, when you're in that situation, you're like, dude, I need as much help as I can get. And what I realized during that time is community and connection and people wanting to help is not really always about us. And it's courageous and bold to say, yes, I need help, because we feel vulnerable. We feel like maybe we're not enough, but it gives that other person the opportunity to feel good. Like how many times when we do something for somebody, we feel good because we could help them, right? And I learned that by me saying like, yeah, actually, I really could use some help, it felt courageous for me to do that. That sounds silly, but I felt like, oh, I really do need help. I realized I gave a lot of other people the opportunity to feel good because they could help me. And so I think it's more courageous to say, I do need help. I'm not perfect. I'm not strong on my own. And that's where like community is. So the people around you, I'm huge on community. I just think we are meant to do life together. We're tribal people. We're meant to come together and be in community.
Yeah, that is so important. And I think that is something that we don't often think about, that it is how the other people react. It's really, you're giving them an opportunity to help. And so even though it's hard for us sometimes to ask for help, but people are out there and they're wanting to help. So it's so important. Suzanne, do you want to piggyback on that? What is your thoughts about that?
Well, I'm so excited to be here because I get to learn from this panel as well. And so I love the connection to the heart, because it's so similar to what I talk about with my students, that my definition of courage is emotional risk in service of something higher or something bigger. And really, you're putting the relationship first in many ways because it's worth the discomfort. And you're willing to say what needs to be said, or you're willing to reach out to somebody else, so it's that two-way street in many ways. So I love your definition. And I think I'm going to use that with my students. So I'm going to steal from you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And who else? Johnny or Noemi? Do you want to piggyback in there? I know, Johnny, you kind of talk about this later. We're going to show your video in a little bit, but do you want to add anything else to this conversation right here?
Just that I think it's easy to forget how relieving it can be when someone else shows that they're a human. Like, I don't know, a lot of leaders struggle with imposter syndrome, which is this idea that like I shouldn't really be a leader, but everybody else should be so great. And I remember I saw this one cartoon. It was like a political cartoon, like just a one panel drawing. And it was a bunch of people in a yoga class, and they were all doing the exact same stretch. And they were, identical form. And they all had a bunch of thought bubbles that went up into one big thought bubble that said, I look like such an idiot and everyone else is doing this so perfectly. And all of us, by the way, I've had that exact experience in a yoga class multiple times. So whenever I think about like moments when I feel nervous to ask for help or admit that I don't know something or open up to someone and share something that's pretty deep and vulnerable, I just remember like the times that I have heard somebody else do that, I'm so relieved. I'm like, thank God you're not perfect. I was so nervous. I thought that I had to be, but now that I know that you're not, you gave me the greatest gift of all, which is a reminder that none of us are perfect. None of us have any idea what's going on 3/4 of the time. And it's this like deeply humanizing and connecting thing that happens where the alternative would be if I pretend I'm perfect and Gloria, you pretend you're perfect, both of us feel like we can't connect with the other person and be honest. So it's like once someone breaks that seal and can be human, I think everyone around them goes, whew.
I love that. In fact, why don't we all do that? Let's just all do a big sigh of relief right now. Yes. And this is so good. And I'm gonna actually go ahead and play Noemi's video, and then I'll have her comment about this too, because she's got something very relevant to this conversation as well.
We often think that courage has to be loud. But real courage is always quiet. It's reaching out. It's sending that message, admitting You don't have to all figure it out. Connection takes bravery because it asks us to be seen without knowing the outcome. But that's where clarity and healing begin, in honest human connection. Reaching out isn't a weakness, it's leadership. It's choosing presence over isolation. And sometimes it's the bravest thing you can do.
All right. So tell us a little bit more about that. I love that you talked about this, it's this quietness and that it doesn't have to be this big thing. So can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yes, and thank you for this opportunity, Gloria, and having me again here with these amazing panel members. For me, it's just being the quieter one in the group, and doesn't necessarily mean that you are the weakest one, because I think it's so important, especially nowadays, to be present for other people, but not always trying to fix them and give them advice. Just being present with them, just being present with your energy, with your high vibe energy. I think that's crucial. And it's a very noisy world, and we need some quiet in that noisy world, but we also need to be present for other people. So I think that's important. And I love what Tara said at the beginning, talking about it's so hard to ask for help. I struggled with that myself in the past. But what I noticed that not only women, but mostly men struggle with that. I'm a mom of a teenage boy, and he doesn't necessarily, ask for help. So I think like men struggle more with this than we do women. And sometimes all they need just a little push that like, okay, I'm here for you. And I have 10 minutes, we can chat. And you offer something for them, and not just talking about it, but just to help them in some form or shape or form.
Yeah, thank you. And I do love this thinking that connection isn't necessarily about speaking to one another. It can be just holding space for someone and just being that supportive person. And sometimes that takes a lot of courage to just be quiet and to be still and be willing. Can anyone have anything they want to say about that? How does that relate to you?
So Gloria, I have kind of a tip that I use that is helpful for me as much as it is for my students. And so essentially when someone comes to me and we're in that moment of connection, one of the things I do, because I assume I'm not omniscient, I can't read minds, is I actually say to that person fairly early on, which of the 3 H's do you need? Do you need help? Do you need a hug? Or do you just need me to hold space? And then they get to define the journey for themselves. And sometimes they're like, I just need you to hold space first and just let me vent. And then they'll say, okay, yeah, now tell me what you think. I'd love to get your perspective on it. Because honestly, I think that's one of the tricks of being in community with other people is responding to their needs first over your own needs.
Yeah, that is so good. And, one other thing this brings to mind that I want to put this out to everybody here is what do you think makes it, why does it feel so risky sometimes to connect with people, whether it is even just reaching out to someone just to I'm thinking like when someone suffers a loss and you want to be able to help, but you don't know what to do, you don't know how to do that, or like Tara, when you were talking about your daughter going through cancer, and you want to be able to help, but you don't know what to do. What do you think it is that makes it so risky? Here, Tara, I'll call on you. What do you think?
So I would say it goes back to, all of this, that we're always afraid of rejection. And I have to say, Johnny, I love that visual. I think I'm going to teach on that this week. That visual of the yoga class, that was brilliant, because there's always a radio station that we're listening to, and it's just our voice in our head. And so we're afraid of usually what is somebody else going to think about me. And it's kind of that idea, right? Nobody's really thinking about you as much as you think they're thinking about you. Like literally nobody's thinking about you, but we're constantly thinking it's about us. And I will say that's also where it goes to the heart, because if we're always thinking about ourselves, then we cannot be in a place of service. We cannot be in a place of making that connection, right? And so when we're afraid to reach out, when we're afraid to connect, it's because we're afraid we're going to get rejected, right? And that imposter syndrome, I know it's become really trendy recently, and it's such an interesting concept to me because, I say to people, and it's so real, right? Like what we were talking about. I think it's just a human experience. Like people say it like they have a syndrome, like there's something wrong with them. Like they have something wrong with them that nobody else has. And I'm like, no, every single person has that. And I don't believe that you hit a point in life where you don't have that. And if you do, if you get to a point where you feel like I don't have that anymore, that to me would be a red flag that you are stuck in a comfort zone. Because if you're stepping out of your comfort zone, you're always going to feel uncomfortable, right? And so we're either growing or we're dying. Like that's kind of it, right? So I would check if you have those feelings. I would check and I'd say, okay, what am I afraid of? What is driving me? We're either driven by pain or pleasure. I'm like, what's the pain? What's the fear? What am I afraid is going to happen? Who's going to reject me? And here's the thing: you offer to make a connection, and that person doesn't want to make that connection back. That really has nothing to do with you. That has to do with where they are, what they're experiencing, what they need right now, their own, issue that they're going on, their own bubble in their head from that yoga story, right? Yeah. It's all rejection based. It's all fear based.
Oh, yeah, I love that. And I do love that cartoon as well. I have seen that too. And it's like,
find that. I've never seen that. That's brilliant. I will say this and kind of, I started my first business when I was very young. I was 20 years old. And I really lived most of my life, the first 10 years, always feeling like I needed to look like I had it all together. I was training women who were a lot older than me. I always dressed like in a suit. Like I felt like I had to look perfect. And I will say that during that season of my life fell apart. I was going through domestic violence. My daughter had cancer. Like it was like having the rug ripped out from underneath me and everybody knew I'm on the floor. Like I don't have anything together. And I will say that was a season, my leadership and my business, like after that, when I became very transparent, really exploded. I think going back to like what Johnny was saying is that once I was like, look, I don't have it together at all. Like I don't have my life together, not even close. It was like everybody else had that permission and my everything exploded. My leadership went from here to here simply by being vulnerable.
That is such a good reminder. Yeah, it really does pay to be vulnerable. We're so scared of it. And yet at the same time, it is what makes us relatable because it shows that we're human, just like everybody else. And I think what I want to do, we're going to take a little music break here because the fabulous Tamara Hunter, who created this show, has put together another wonderful song that fits right in this theme. And I'm gonna play that, and then we're going to talk about it.
Sometimes the silence feels safer than risking what we might say. We hold the words in our hands, then slowly turn away. We wonder if anyone's listening, if our voice will disappear. So we stay behind the distance, waiting for a sign to appear. But courage isn't always thunder, it doesn't have to shine. Sometimes it's just a whisper, saying I'll try this time. Connection begins here, in the space between doubt and hope. In the moment we reach beyond fear and learn we don't stand alone. Connection begins here, with a heart that chooses to see. One honest step forward is where healing starts to be.
Maybe it's just one message, or a hand reaching through the screen. A quiet hello in the darkness, becoming something unseen. A conversation changes direction, a story finally told. And suddenly what felt broken feels a little less alone.
Sometimes it's just breathing before as you stand. Connection begins here in the space between doubt and hope. In the moment we reach beyond fear and learn we don't stand alone. Not every hero is fearless, not every step is strong. Sometimes courage is staying when you want it to be gone. Sometimes courage is asking, sometimes it's letting in, and sometimes it's discovering connection can begin again. Connection begins here in the light we choose to share, in every reaching heartbeat, finding someone there. Connection begins here, where compassion meets the soul. One small act of bravery can make a broken spirit whole. Connection begins here, right here.
All right. Oops, there we go. Johnny, you had I think you had another reason that you could think of that why people are hesitant to connect on both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I'm just a little distracted by the fact that they put people doing yoga in the video.
Oh,
Did
that's
anyone else see that and go like, holy crap, what are the odds of that? I promise if you're watching this, I didn't know that was going to happen. My jaw dropped. I'm like, there they are, they're doing it. And they're looking at each other and probably thinking, am I doing this right? But yes, the reasons why, at least for me, that I think I've in the past, especially when I was younger, would hesitate to connect with someone like either I see they're going through something and I want to help, or I'm going through something and I see that they want to help me. Two different things that I'll bring up quickly. The first is I know that for me, it feels like people can only hurt you to the degree that they know you. So like a complete stranger could say something to me and I'm like if a stranger said you're impatient, I would go, I don't really know what data set you're using to base that on. We've never had an interaction with one another. And then the degree to which they know me can make it more and more hurtful. So for example, if it was someone that I worked with a couple times, I'd be like, oh, that's sad that that person had that interaction with me. And then if we get even closer, it's a close friend. I'm like, youch, that's probably pretty accurate if it's someone who's seen me in all these different settings. And then like if it's your significant other or someone in your family, it's like, oh crap, that like cuts to the soul. So I think sometimes in order to protect ourselves, we don't want to let people, we want to limit their access because of past hurt. So for example, if a past, we see this all the time in romantic relationships. If you, I hear people say this all the time, I'm never going to date again. I'm never going to date again. And it's because one person hurt them and they think because that person had such access to me, such deep access to me, I want to throttle that for other people so that they can't hurt me to that same degree. And I totally understand this. It's just protection. But the other side that I wanted to bring up is when I was in high school, I was suicidal in high school and in college. And I had, when I started doing mental health advocacy and talking about it, and it was more public, and you could like watch, like, I remember when my TED talk came out and a couple of my friends saw it. And I was like, oh no, they're going to think I'm a freak because they're going to discover that I was suicidal. And all my friends were like, oh, it was obvious. Like, we all knew that you were depressed. And I was like, then why did nobody ever acknowledge it? You're telling me for years you were my best friends and nobody ever brought up the fact that you all knew I was suicidal. And they were all like, we didn't know what to say or do. It was like awkward to talk about. And so we just sort of went 8 years without ever bringing it up and kind of hoped that it would go away on its own. And I think it's like a paralysis analysis thing where they're like, I don't know how to start the conversation or what words to use, and I don't want to make it worse. And therefore I'll do nothing for a decade. And I'm sad that people get stuck there, and yet I completely understand how and why people get stuck.
Thank you for sharing that. And it is, it makes me feel so grateful that we're doing a show like this today, because the more people who are out there talking about these things, it really normalizes it. I'm like getting teary-eyed just thinking about it, because I know it's hard, and especially I can see both sides, because it is. It's like you don't know what to do, and you feel helpless, and you don't want to say the wrong thing. So just know, if you're listening to this today, and maybe there's someone in your life who you see, if you don't feel that you can reach out to them, I think there are other resources where you can go, where you can find out how to respond to them. You can go online. You can. I love following the National Association of Mental. NAMI is what it is, and NAMI.org. I forget what it stands for, but and even there's like suicide prevention things that you can go to, and you can get some information. So, thank you for being vulnerable, all of you so far, and really, sharing information that's so good. And Noemi, maybe we haven't heard from you just recently. So do you want to comment either about, what Johnny was saying, or even about the video that we watched?
Yeah, what Johnny said, I think it's the most important thing that people can do, just being open, what you said, and being vulnerable about their mental and emotional health issues, because there's so many people struggle. And since the pandemic, we are having the loneliness pandemic too. And I just heard today, I was listening to a podcast, and somebody was talking about that they joined a cult, some form, and they asked her, why did she do that? And she said, because I was lonely. That's it. Because there's so many people lonely nowadays, and there's only the online world, and that's it basically. And they just don't have the courage to ask for help. And it's hard, because you need a lot of courage to ask for help and to go to people, because it's not an easy decision. It's not like, oh, just can you help me? Like, no, it doesn't come naturally. So I agree with Johnny. And yes, you just need to open up sometimes, but people are struggling with that. And I remember from my own life that I had many family members and very close friends died because of cancer, like my dad or my granddad, my uncle. Everybody passed away because of cancer. And I realized that my friends, only a few, just a handful of them, reached out to me after they passed away, because they didn't know what to say. And it was horrible. And I remember I had a very close friend, and she passed away when she was in her early 30s. And I kept in touch with her until the last stage. And we lived in different countries. She lived in Ireland, I lived in Cyprus, but we still kept in touch. And yeah, you need to reach out. You just need to do that, because if you don't do that, like one day it comes back to you. And it's hard, but there are certain calls and there are certain messages you must send in your life, because that's what life about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Suzanne, what do you think about, like, how can even like leaders in, whether it's even a leader in a family or a leader in an organization, how can they help with this too?
Absolutely. And I think that we know that there is a loneliness epidemic. We came out of the cocoon from the pandemic, and you could be in a room full of people and still feel lonely in your family, lonely in a relationship, but loneliness at work. And so there are more and more tools that we're using to try to help people, leaders in particular, really name and claim those things. And so some of the things I recommend to people is start your updates with people and ask them, how are you doing on a scale of 1 to 5? My husband, who's a pilot, when he gets into the cockpit, the first thing they do is they say to each other, am I in the green, or am I in the yellow, or am I in the red? And so we use that in our relationship. So if both of us come home and one of us is in the red, and red means that, we've had a bad day and we need help. It's just an easy way for us to use colors or for us to use numbers, which is sometimes a little bit easier for people than to name feelings. And so if managers can bring that into the workplace and say, and they model that behavior and they say, I got that wrong, or I don't have the full answer yet, or I could use your input on this, or I'm stretched thin and I need backup, then they're giving permission to other people to be vulnerable in that way too, so that people can set boundaries and they can actually talk about, yeah, I'm having a bad day because this thing is happening. And so I think that's also something we need to do, because personal is professional and professional is personal. And so the workplace needs to get smarter on this particular issue as well.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate that. And I think this is well, actually, I guess before we go to Johnny's video, because I was going to go to Johnny's video, but I just saw some purple hearts coming by, and this is something that we like to take a little Purple Heart Club break right now. So I'm going to just put up a little video here, and I'll explain more about it after. Yeah, so we do that to honor some folks who are very near and dear to us at the Fab Show, but also just all of our loved ones, to know that yeah, as Tamara just said, they're forever remembered. We want to honor you. So I'm gonna go, since we've been talking about asking for help and this courage. We're gonna continue things on here, and I'm going to show Johnny's video now.
I remember when I was growing up, I used to think that handling things yourself was like so tough. That was like the manly thing to do, was like grin and bear it and like suck it up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And now I realize that what I was really afraid of is telling other people what I was going through. It was fear. It wasn't like independence and strength. It was actually, oh no, what will my friends and family think of me? What will my colleagues think of me if they know what I'm going through? So now looking back, I think one of the most important things I ever did for myself, one of the strongest things, like required the most strength from me, was actually telling my friends and family, this is what's going on. I really need help. I would love to talk with you about this. And now it feels second nature, but I will tell you from experience, if you think you are being strong by keeping your mouth shut and not telling anybody, let me tell you something. Real strength is opening up and talking to folks. Trust me.
Okay, so I want to, we've been talking about this, and we've been talking about the importance of speaking up. So I want to ask you, how did you finally get the courage to reach out and tell people about what was going on with you? Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, first of all, I need people watching this to know I did not edit the video and add music. When I was watching everybody else's videos, I'm like, dang, they added music and there's like clips of other people. Like, I just filmed myself talking and sent it in with no editing whatsoever. And then you play mine and I realize you did it for everybody's videos. Holy crap. That was a fun experience for me to watch. I feel like when I got started with advocacy, I think a lot of people think, because now, like, it's not uncommon for me to get on stage in front of 5,000 people and say, I've attempted suicide. And it like does not evoke any type of feeling in me one way or the other. I'm not freaked out by it. I'm not concerned about what anybody will think. And a lot of people are like, wow, how do I do that? And I'm like, I did not start here. I'm like 15 years into doing public advocacy. And actually, a lot of people think, oh, did you just start by telling your friends and family? And I was like, no, that was even scarier for me at the time. So what I actually did, there's two things that like greased the wheels for me and made me feel much more comfortable talking about my feelings and my trauma and all sorts of stuff. One thing that I did, my whole life I've been a musician. So when I was 4 years old, I decided I'm going to become a rock star. Other kids want to be astronauts or cowboys or dinosaurs or whatever. I wanted to be a rock star. And as soon as I could start writing music, I started. So writing lyrics, poems, picking up a guitar and writing melodies. And my whole life, music has been such a great way to say what I need to say, in a way that maybe is a little more palatable for people and made me feel safer to share, especially when I was younger and I didn't know how to share what I was going through with other people. I'm like, man, if I can put it into a song or a painting or a poem or a short story, the art helped me not only give shape to what I was thinking and feeling, but also made me feel much more confident sharing it with other people, because I could sort of say, hey, this is a song that I wrote, or this is a short story. What do you think? So that the creativity, it was like art therapy a little bit, helped me a lot. But the other thing was I started with advocacy talking about what I went through in front of complete strangers. So my first like keynote ever, I was freshly 18 years old. And I was in actually a NAMI support group, National Alliance on Mental Illness. I did a support group called Family to Family, and they invited me in to talk about my lived experience with mental illness. And I spoke in front of 6 parents. And I did not know these people. They did not know me. And so for me, I felt so safe. I'm like, what the heck am I going to say to these complete strangers that's going to get me in trouble or have them judge me? And in fact, what was cool is the parents were like, oh, my son is going through something like that. When I say this, why does he respond like this? And I say, I'd say the same thing. Here's what I wish you would say. Now, I couldn't have that conversation with my own parents. I wasn't there yet, but I could have it with other people's parents. So I always encourage people, if you don't know like where to start around the outer rim, the perimeter. If you're too freaked out to tell your spouse or something, start out here and realize that when you share that thing, not only do you survive that, and then you can go concentrically closer to your center, but also you can use art to help yourself feel more comfortable sharing with the people closer to you.
I love that. And that's perfect segue, because I'm going to bring Noemi on here, because I know something about her and right behind her. So yeah, go ahead. What do you want to add to that about art?
There were 2 things before the art. What Johnny said about like telling strangers about your story. And for me, it was being a podcast guest and sharing my own story, sharing my grief, sharing my trauma. And it was so powerful, but I didn't start with my family. I talked to strangers on different podcasts all across the globe, and they listened. And I think if we can just help one single person with our story, that's already a win. And the second thing that Johnny mentioned, of course, art. I'm a mixed media artist as well. I'm an entrepreneur, but also a mixed media artist. And for me, art was, healed me basically. I mean, during the pandemic, I had a small evening routine that I didn't watch the TV because that didn't help me. And so I kind of created my own art bubble. And so I was in bed listening to a podcast, an audiobook, some kind of, favorite music. And I was starting to make these mixed media collages every single evening. That was a form of meditation for me. It was so relaxing. It's a meditative practice. It helped me to calm me down. It helped me to cope with my grief, with my anxiety, with my trauma. Art has such a humongous healing power. It's amazing. And I can just recommend it to anyone, because I get the replies from so many people that are like, oh, I'm not an artist, I'm not creative. We all are. We were born creative as kids, but society, school, the whole system just killed this kind of creativity out of us. So I think we sometimes just need to go back to art, and it literally just helps us to heal.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it really does. Yeah, art is a wonderful tool to be able to use that. And I think I want to share, I was going to do one thing today, but I think I'm going to share something else, another video today that is really, it's the inspiration for this show, I think in general, and it relates to connection. So I'm going to share a little bit about chemo buddies.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
Share this with your friends and family and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Tara, I'd love for you to share a little bit about, again, because you've kind of gone through this with your daughter. What else can you have? How important is like community and connecting with others, especially when you're going through something, a serious illness like that?
Yeah. And I think, it's interesting. I've always been very into community. So I actually had built a huge community really even before I went through all of this, right? And everybody here has a different story. And I think that's what we kind of forget sometimes. Everybody has a story, right? So for Johnny, going through mental health and suicide, or for, Suzanne, whatever, all of us, right? My story. And that transparency that we started with is so important, because I think a lot of times, and you go back to what we started with, we're so trying to hide and look perfect. And we're so afraid of what other people will think. Even with talking about this suicide, you could talk about cancer. So for example, cancer is the second leading cause of death in children until they become teenagers. And then that is replaced with suicide. And it becomes the third leading cause of death. But nobody talks about this, right? Because there's so much shame around how we're feeling. There's much shame in saying I'm lonely. I had put in the chat, 50% of, I recently read the study, 50% or more of women are saying they feel lonely. Like in a world where we're so connected through tech. I mean, here we are, we're all in different places around the world and we're so connected. This is an epidemic. And so I do think it's important that in today's world, we actively work to build our community. And it was interesting. I did a video on this. It was wild, the feedback. I did a video that there's a research study that just came out that said women need a girls' night out or a girls' social event every 22 days for their mental health. And that's all I did. I put it went viral. It was crazy. I just put a little caption of like a girls' night out, and it said women need. The response that people got that was on two polar opposites was fascinating to me. I either got women saying, oh my gosh, yes, I need this. Or I got women saying, I need this, but I have no friends. I have no way to have this. I want this, but I'm so jealous. I have no friends. Or I got people saying, why would I need this? I'm good alone. I don't need anybody. Women are catty and blah, blah, blah. Like there was that end too. So it was really fascinating to me. And my response to that was that, and I've moved a lot. I've moved 9 times over 3 states and I've been in areas where I'm very alone. I've had to actively work to build my community. I think we think everybody just has these big group of friends. We think everybody's getting invited to everything. No, they're not. Like I'll tell you, I work with all women. They're not. I actively work to build my community. I join meetup groups. I join Facebook groups. I look for things that are going in my area. I think if you are lonely, one of the best ways to get connection is to volunteer, because volunteering builds it builds self-esteem, particularly in kids. It puts you in a group of people who have maybe similar values. Join a church, join a book club, like join something. We're lonely, we're sad, we're isolated, but we're all sitting on our computers, we're all sitting on our phone, watching everybody else live their quote best life, right? It takes, and this goes back to courage. It takes courage to show up to an event where you don't know anybody. It takes courage to go to that meetup event alone or to volunteer, right? But this is how we break this isolation. This is how we break this, and this is how we start to build community. And I will say for sure, everything that's ever happened that's good in my life, every opportunity I've had, every business opportunity, every personal opportunity came from a connection of somebody that I knew. It wasn't like random. It was a connection that opened a door that I didn't even know I need that door opened. And I just appreciate how vulnerable everybody is here, and creating a space where people feel safe enough to be like, this is what I'm struggling with. Like we need more of this in the world.
Absolutely. And I'm going to do Suzanne's video now because she's got some other wonderful tips in this about how we can keep this connection. So I'm going to show hers right now.
When people oftentimes hear the courage to connect, I think they think of big moments, hard conversations, or big acts of bravery, but sometimes the bravest acts are actually small ones. Let me give you an example. Every Friday morning, I look forward to starting my day with the 5 people who made the biggest difference to me in the week. It could be a family member who picked up the phone and we had a great laugh together. It could be a friend who went out of their way for me. It could be a staff member or a client who inspired me with something they said. It could be a place that I frequent and a customer service representative who went out of their way and I actually send it to their manager. What I do is just send a quick message, but I'm also specific. Here's what you did that brightened my week and here's why it mattered. To me, connection is a multiplier effect. It changes me. I have to slow down on that Friday, reflect, notice, be grateful on purpose. And then, of course, it changes the other person. It impacts them. They see how what they do ripples out to other people. And you'd be amazed at the replies. Over time, those 5 messages a week also build something stronger than just our own connection. It builds trust, goodwill, even community. If you want the courage to connect, I'd encourage you to think small. Show some gratitude. Thank someone specifically next time. Smile when you walk past somebody. Small acts create a big ripple in our community.
All right, let's put you in our spotlight so you can tell if you have any other small acts that we could do. So share with us, please.
Well, I'd love to hear from the rest of the panels because I'm learning so much today. But going back to the science, this is what we call the helper's high. That connection activates dopamine and oxytocin, which actually builds trust and belonging. And as was mentioned earlier, we're wired for that level of connection. And so that two-way connection, when we're showing gratitude, it does have this multiplier effect. And it builds social currency with individuals. And so, again, it's a great way for me to start Friday. So I look forward to hearing what the other panels think about this idea.
Okay, let's see. Here, Johnny, I'll put you here. What are your thoughts?
I'm big on gratitude, so I love that this is coming up. And I'm also big on being very specific with things like thank you for, if your spouse washes the dishes, be like, thank you for specifically washing the dish that had all the caked on seasoning on it from when I made pork chops. I understand that dish was probably especially difficult to wash. So I love the specificity there. But one thing that I think that I undervalued my whole life until COVID was micro interactions with random people that I do not know. So what I really missed during COVID, of course, I missed like hugging my friends and like all of the stuff that everybody missed, but I also missed like trying to put something into a grocery bag and missing the bag and the cashier going like, heh, and me going, heh. Like we don't even have a conversation at all. We just both witness the same thing. Or I don't know if you've ever like been on a subway and like the subway car like lurches a bit and both of you and a stranger have to both grab the thing and then you look at each other like, whoa, you don't say anything. But those little like shared moments of connections are, they're like chocolate chips in the pancake of life. And so when you do get one, they're like so sweet. And I purposely now will try to cherish those little moments because COVID made me realize how valuable they are to my sense of community. Because I think sometimes if people think community, they think I have to make an ongoing commitment to a club or something. It's like, maybe you can just walk past someone walking a dog and go, what kind of dog is that? And they go, oh, I don't know actually. And you go, huh, and keep walking. And even that can like help us feel like we're not the only person in the universe.
I love that. I love that idea of these really small moments that where you're not even saying anything. I think it is so great. And I like just like I'd be walking in my apartment complex and just passing someone and just just smiling or just saying hi and that's it. And we don't have a conversation, but it is nice because we want to be noticed, we want to be seen, we want to be heard. And I love that you point that out. I think that's so cool. Yeah, go ahead. I knew you wanted to say something, Noemi. I can feel it.
You know me too, Gloria. No, I'm actually part of a Go-Giver community by Bob Berg. And what I learned from him is just giving compliments and the power of giving compliments. No matter how small they are, it makes a huge difference in everyone's life. And while I was watching the video, I was making some notes about that. And it's about making people feeling good about themselves. That's it. And it's huge. I mean, you can change people's lives. Just a nice compliment to everyone, like you pass someone, in the street and tell them like, oh my gosh, I love that coat on you. It looks so well. And yeah, and it can make someone else's day. I mean, just a tiny compliment has a huge impact.
Oh, absolutely. Tara, how about you?
So I would, to piggyback on that, because I love that. And I think that's so true. I'm also very big on I smile at everybody that I see. And it's an interesting social experiment too, because like if you've ever walked down a street, right, and it's just you two, and I'm always looking at that person to smile at them. And I'm shocked at how many people are like, right, they don't want to make any eye contact. And I'll do this with kids all the time. Like I'll smile, and you see a kid, and it's interesting because kids will smile back and it's the adults that are like, so I always think there's something biologically like in us that's made for connection. We are meant to do life together. We are meant to connect. But why as adults, we suddenly come away from that. Right. And there's some interesting studies. I don't know all the stats, so I don't want to say it wrong about like what's happened with people with their mental health when you've smiled, like a random stranger has smiled at them and how that's impacted their day. So I feel like that's something it's free, it's inexpensive, and it changes. Like people are angry. And I think this is coming off of like COVID and stuff. People just feel on angst and on edge and on angry. And I'm at that age in life with like my hormones. So I'm like, yeah, I get that. I wake up some days and I'm just like, but a smile changes people. I mean, you can even hear a smile on the phone without seeing somebody's face. And what's really cool about smiling is that when you smile, so just do this right now, everybody smile. You don't even have to mean it. It doesn't have to be a real smile. It doesn't even have to be like one that you authentically mean. Just the act of smiling increases the dopamine in your own body and releases all these happy hormones. And what's wild is your body doesn't know the difference between a real smile and a fake smile. So you get the health benefits either way, and it's contagious. So like, I just encourage you to experiment today. Like this week, we're starting out this week. Just imagine this week, you just pick 5 people every day to smile to, and just start to see. Somebody was talking about the ripple effect, just to start to see what happens. It's like, I'll take Johnny's, you're sprinkling little chocolate chips all over your town with that smile.
I love that. I think that is so good. And oh my gosh, and we didn't even get into something else, but the next time I'm hosting, we're going to talk a bit more about how to connect when you disagree. So I'm just putting that out there. Watch for that. But we're just going to go, because like, oh my gosh, the show's almost over. So I'm just going to have you go around and just give like one last word or short phrase that you can leave our audience on how to connect. So, well, Tara, we'll start with you because you're unmuted. What's your last
just
word?
Start with your heart. Get out of your head. Stop thinking. Nobody's thinking about you. Just lead with your heart.
All right. Noemi.
And when you have a fear of rejection, so just think about, it's not about you, it's always about them. And that, just keep it in your mind, because everybody struggles, everybody has a problem, and yeah, just think about that.
All right. Suzanne.
I was going to challenge everybody to reach out to someone who's the quietest in the room. So if you find somebody who is kind of inward, just encourage yourself to go outward with them. Even that smile, that compliment, they'll open up, and then maybe that will change their day. It could change their perspective on that meeting, that conversation, anything.
All right. And last word, Johnny?
Yeah, I'm big on saying I miss you or I missed you. So my encouragement to people is, if you go to a group setting like Bible study or something, and then you notice one person isn't there, if you text that person and just say, missed you at Bible study tonight, that's it. No rocket science. Just that I was in a group setting and I noticed that you weren't there is like tremendously healing for the person who didn't go for whatever reason.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, panelists. You are amazing. Thank you for joining us today. And yeah, reach out to someone today and just, smile, wave, do something. And we'll see you next week.